Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. You'll have to forgive me this morning. I am scrambling. I had intended to shoot film. My film camera is down there, abandoned on the beach because the mosquitoes are horrendous. I'm getting eaten alive, and I was setting up my film camera. I just couldn't take it. It was too slow. The sun was coming up, it's gorgeous, and I was just getting demolished. And I really hope there's no big waves because I just left it in the sand and ran down here. It's been a rough morning so far, but look at that sunrise, absolutely glorious. So I'm shooting a composition that I scouted out the other day, and it's very simple. I've got this incredible log here, and I just have the log forking with this beautiful rock resting in the sand in between the prongs of the fork. And then of course the sunset in the background has been the missing component for me. And then on top, I've got a 3-stop neutral density reverse grad filter. So if you've never used a reverse grad filter, it works exactly as the name implies. It's darkest at the middle, and then below there's no darkness, and then it tapers towards the top. Unlike a traditional grad filter where it's darkest at the top and then tapers all the way down, this is specifically for seascape type scenes where the sun is coming up on the horizon and that's where you want your darkest bit. So I have a 3-stop on there now. Oh my goodness. Oh. And this is absolutely beautiful. We have so much color up there in the sky and it's all reflecting beautifully in the water. I'm doing a 13-second exposure at f11, and I do have a polarizer on there as well. I'm hoping we'll get some more light because I actually don't want to be at 13 seconds. I'd like to have, I'd like to have a much slower shutter speed so I can get some texture in the water, but it's gonna require the sun to actually come up, which is probably not for another 15 minutes. Yeah, so I've brought it down to 5 seconds now, and it's still, the water basically just looks like mist, which in some compositions I like, but in this one, it's not what I want. I want that beautiful texture in the water, which I really need to get closer to a half a second to get. So hopefully this color sticks around long enough. And if you're wondering why I don't just open up my aperture, I could, but I'm already focus stacking at f11. So if I open up even more, I'm worried I'll have patches that are out of focus. The log has to be tack sharp in this image. So I might do one run at f6 or f5.6, excuse me. But it's still not gonna get me down to a half second anyway.
Overall, I'm pretty happy with this image. I settled on a focus stack 2-second exposure. By clicking the shutter as the wave was receding, I got just enough texture in the water. However, I didn't like these 2 rocks on the right side of the frame, and I felt like the mid-ground was too dominant in the scene. So the next morning, I got lower to the ground and I reframed the composition to remove the rocks. I like this composition, but the conditions just weren't as good, and still, I felt like there were too many competing elements in the image. On the 3rd day, I decided just to focus on the subject, which was the log, and I love how the log has so much texture and character while remaining completely still. It's a nice contrast to the receding water, which is in constant motion. However, I felt like the vertical composition with the vertical-oriented subject made me feel cramped in the frame. And furthermore, the warmth of the light on this morning was too similar to the warmth in the wood, so on my final morning, I settled on this composition, which I love. The color is perfect, giving a soft, pleasing feel to the images. And of the 4 images that I captured of this subject, the final composition is my favorite. Then again, I was a few quarts short of blood from all those damn mosquitoes, so I would love your opinion.
Okay, so we set up on our sunset composition. I have it all focused in. I'm at 150 millimeters. Originally, when I scouted this out, I thought it would be a 90 millimeter image. And what I'll do is I'll pull up my scouting view on the frame so that you can see what I'm going for. I decided for 150 millimeters because at sunset, you can see all this beautiful wispy cloud up here, and I think that's gonna catch. And the foreground really isn't that interesting, so I'm gonna have a little bit of the water in the foreground, but the star of the show is gonna be this single tree on the right side, and then the beautiful, well, hopefully the beautiful clouds in the background. There's no wind today, so this is the perfect day for this because that tree yesterday was whipping around, and we're probably gonna be around a half a second exposure, so having it perfectly still like this is exactly what I wanted. Now I still have about 15 minutes left until the sun actually hits the horizon, so I haven't loaded the film yet because I'm worried that a wave is gonna come up and hit my tripod, and then what's gonna happen is it's gonna shift. So as the water recedes, it shifts the tripod. So right before I load the film, I'm gonna throw the ground glass on one more time, make sure I don't need to make any final adjustments, then I'll load the film and get the shot. Okay, so I've got my film loaded. I'm not entirely sure what I did the first time. I was rushing. I ended up tearing the loading paper, so I scrapped that roll, which is always fun. I think it's looking like the cloud is starting to snuff out that sunrise, and a lot of that wispy cloud has moved off. So the film's loaded. I'm gonna shoot it, but I am gonna wait just a couple more minutes, and I'm hoping that as the sun gets down to that horizon, it'll find a gap in the clouds, and it's gonna light up these clouds in the background. If not, I think it's still gonna be just fine. Right now I'm metering at about a 1 second exposure with the polarizer. And I think with that nice soft blue water, any color in the sky is gonna look nice, but I really, really want that sky to light up. So I'm gonna go ahead and wait because I think without it, it's just not gonna be a good enough image. Frickin' mosquitoes. Oh, hate wasting a roll of film. Okay, so the sun has just dipped below the horizon. I'm currently metering at a 4 second exposure. I'm gonna go ahead and fire off the first shot because we have no wind and the clouds are beautiful. There's a little bit of color in the sky and it might not get any better. So I'm gonna go ahead and get one locked in. It's gonna be a 4 second exposure. And it is Provia 100, so I don't have to adjust for reciprocity on a 4 second exposure. Just gonna use my phone as a stopwatch. All these mosquitoes. All right, 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. We are getting some earth shadow off in the east where I was already. It's okay. It'll get better. Okay, so in typical fashion, there is color in about 270 degrees view. And the last little bit that I'm looking at has almost no color. So I'm kicking myself because we were on the East Beach, as you saw earlier this morning, and I was gonna shoot sunset over there, but I thought tonight was the night with these wispy clouds. They are catching a tiny bit of color. I think this is as good as it's gonna get, and the texture in the clouds on the horizon is beautiful. I just wish I had panned down a little bit, and now it's too late. I don't wanna mess with the composition because I can't see it, and the viewfinder on the Photomin, it's trash, so I'm not gonna trust it. But I'm gonna quit jibber jabbering. Right now, I'm gonna be at an 8 second exposure. So let's go ahead and get that shot. I'm just gonna wait for actually, no, there's color. There's color. There's color. Okay, I've got one more shot. I'm gonna wait another 30 seconds or so, see if it gets more intense. I feel like the color from this way is actually reflecting onto the sand, giving the whole scene kind of a nice magenta glow. So I lied. I'm gonna pop on my viewfinder for my phone. I just wanna see if we're still aligned with all the waves that have hit this tripod. And if I'm aligned correctly, that's a big if, this is actually gonna be gorgeous. Okay. Another 8 second exposure. Just waiting for a wave. Boom.
And here are developed slides. And this is the first exposure after the sun had just dipped below the horizon. And these are all within 5 minutes of each other, and just look how much the light changes over that 5-minute period. Here we have this nice blue tone in the shadows, and just a few minutes later, there's this beautiful warmth and magenta color, and I absolutely love this image. If it weren't for what you're about to see, this would have been the shot of the day.
What's that? Can't hear.
Giant cow.
Holy shit. That's a bull. There's a few bulls.
Yeah.
Okay, I think those are gonna be some good images. I'm excited. We're gonna get out of here before it gets too dark. And as you can see, a whole herd of giant cows just came out of nowhere. And they've got some pretty big horns, so we're gonna get packed up and get out of their way. I wonder though, I've got a digital camera, I wonder if I can get a shot with them in it. Okay, I'm gonna try and get one frame on the digital camera with them in the shot. Okay, so footage might have been a little bit dark. I forgot to change the ISO, but, oh. Oh, that's so freaking cool. So, you can't on that lens. So a cow just walked out. You cannot make this crap up. There's a black and white cow with giant horns that just walked out onto the beach. So I switched over to the digital camera and he's just standing still. So I think this is actually gonna be a pretty cool image. Oh, that doesn't even look real. Oh, that is so cool.
This is why I love photography. I'm not gonna lie, this evening I was completely underwhelmed by the images that I was capturing. And that's just how it is. You give yourself the best opportunity for success through planning and preparation, but ultimately you get what nature gives you. And on this evening, I'm so stoked that nature gave me a friggin' cow.
I don't know, what more can you ask for? Beautiful sunset and a friggin' cow. We've got it all. That's gonna do it for me. That's gonna do it for me this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. More importantly, I hope you enjoyed the images. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Now get out there, make some images.